When many think of the most realistic war games, it's easy to conjure images of a tight squad-based shooter that takes everything from wind speed to bullet drop into account. However, there is another genre that depicts the realities of war and the fight for survival with such effortless ease. This War of Mine is a 2014 survival indie game by 11-bit studios that pulls no punches. Inspired by the Siege of Sarajevo, the game is a grim depiction of living in a war-torn city with no means of escape. Players will control a group of survivors who are confined to a crumbling house. Resources are rare, and the inhabitants will have to endure biting cold, small food rations, and crippling illness. At night, one survivor can venture into the city to scavenge, encountering hostile and friendly NPCs. Death in this game is unfortunately a given, and players will often see the people they have tried so hard to keep alive pass. This War of Mine is a heartbreaking and incredibly personal depiction of war that has reframed the concept of war for the video game media.
The Total War series has consistently delivered intricate conflict simulators that put the tactics of each battle into the microscope. It's a franchise that spans numerous periods, ranging from the Three Kingdoms to the Napoleonic Wars. Every fan has their favorite entry, but to many, its second attempt at recreating the Warring Steeds period is a standout. Released in 2011, Total War Shogun 2 is creative assembly at their best. The turn-based strategy and real-time tactics hybrid game is finely tuned to allow for complicated strategic plays. There's an intricate political system that shines with the addition of the realm divide mechanic, where clans will turn against players after they've become too powerful. Changes in the season will also affect troops, with snow impeding the movement of units. Shogun 2 reintroduces naval battles that take into account wind direction and speed. While Rome Total War is often regarded as the pinnacle of the series, Shogun 2 is ideal for anyone seeking a modernized and technically astounding military strategy game.
Insurgency Sandstorm is the closest thing to a traditional and realistic military simulation on consoles, adhering to many of the standards set by its PC counterparts. Sandstorm is not forgiving. Its predecessor was criticized for its harsh difficulty, and the newest iteration does not change that. Players will be killed in 1 or 2 shots, and there is only one respawn condition. What makes Sandstorm unique is its compactness in comparison to other milsims. Maps are sizable, but the density of environmental objects, such as buildings, allows for intense firefights where the use of cover is essential. The game eliminates the traditional HUD system, meaning that managing health and, most importantly, ammo is entirely up to the players. A wide range of weapons is available, and they handle similarly to their real-world counterparts. There are 3 modes: push, firefight, and checkpoint, and each requires coordination between squad mates. In matches, there is often a slow-paced tactical build-up until players are catapulted into a brief but exhilarating firefight. One aspect that is frequently overlooked in those milsims is visual fidelity, and Insurgency Sandstorm is arguably one of the most visually polished experiences available.
Out of all these entries, Hell Let Loose is arguably the easiest to jump into. In many ways, it feels like an evolution of the Battlefield experience, particularly the one seen in V. Released in 2021, one of the game's greatest strengths is that it provides a near-realistic combat simulator across multiple platforms. While most milsims are the domain of hardcore PC players, Hell Let Loose makes entry into the genre highly accessible. The game borrows heavily from Battlefield, but only to a certain extent. Running off alone is a surefire way to get killed, and being non-communicative will frustrate squad mates. The game amps up the tactical considerations by introducing an RTS-like supply line metagame. There is a wide range of maps, ranging from Kursk to Al Alamein, all recreated via archival aerial photography. Hell Let Loose isn't the most accurate military sim, but it is an excellent choice for those looking to get into the genre.
The Hearts of Iron games remain one of the most complicated strategy genre series, featuring intricate mechanics that demand players' attention. That is to say, jumping from Civilization into Hearts of Iron is difficult, and one should be aware of this steep learning curve. Each of the games is set during World War II, and players will be able to command any nation on Earth, creating a complicated strategy that transcends unit movement and tells into political theory. The ability to become the ruler of any nation creates a great what-if sandbox. Should Japan go communist? What about Turkey mounting an all-out offensive on the Western Front? Due to the sheer number of systems, the little things count more than ever. For players who want to avoid repeating the failure of Operation Barbarossa, close management of supply lines is a must. Production and allocating resources to factories can often mean the difference between victory and defeat, and might require a bit of math.
Foxhole is an achievement in the MMO strategy subgenre. It is a persistent, player-driven strategy game that pits two sides against each other in a world inspired by World War I. What makes this game stand out is the roles that players can inhabit. Not everyone has to be in combat, and sometimes the most essential jobs belong to those who manufacture arms and secure supply lines. One of Foxhole's main strengths is its unique approach to resource management and logistics, which is managed cooperatively by the players. Campaigns last for days on end, with the game featuring a 12-hour day and night cycle. Those on the front lines can order attacks and launch ballistic volleys. However, these offensive actions must be balanced with the availability of resources, which is achieved through communication with players running the supply lines and manufacturing facilities. While the game has seen a drop-off in players since its initial launch and hype cycle, this is to be expected for a persistent game that hosts 120 players. This doesn't take away from its realism, and while bullet drop is cool, so are logistics.
Arma 3 has one of the most dedicated fan bases, and an extensive range of mods has made it the go-to choice for most individuals interested in the genre. Arma 3 remains incredibly popular 12 years after its original release, and has evolved into more of a platform for curated scenarios rather than an outright game. As a testament to its staying power, it boasts a larger player base than its 2022 spin-off, Arma Reforger, which was built explicitly for custom content. While there is to campaign mode, it's not the draw of the game. What players come for are large, open-ended maps that create shockingly realistic combat encounters. Stance fatigue, weather, and ballistic range all play a role in this. One of the greatest legacies of its predecessor was the DayZ mod, which was eventually spun off into a standalone game. The mod provided an immersive journey through a virus-ravaged island, allowing for a great deal of dynamic storytelling. The original mod for the game is still regarded as the best way to play DayZ, further demonstrating the accuracy and flexibility of the Arma games.
As the first televised conflict, the Vietnam War left an indelible mark on the American public and the world at large. In the years following, Hollywood immortalized the tales of platoons boating down the Mekong Delta in movies such as Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket. Video games too have tried to represent this war, but Rising Storm 2 Vietnam is probably its most accurate portrayal. Released in 2017, developers Antimatter Games and Tripwire Interactive delivered a gritty team-based shooter that is an incredibly well-rounded representation of the conflict. The US forces and Viet Cong guerrillas have distinct playstyles, with the Viet Cong starting in tunnels and using traps like punji sticks, while the US side has access to incredibly destructive napalm strikes and Agent Orange. Rising Storm 2 of Vietnam does an excellent job of balancing perspectives. It pulls no punches and lays out to the player the tactics used by each side, regardless of how brutal or controversial it may be. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam has a steep learning curve, but it is gratifying once mastered.
There is a certain amount of controversy surrounding 6 Days in Fallujah. While most milsims represent real warfare, their settings are often opaque enough to apply to any conflict, with the exception of wars waged decades ago. 6 Days in Fallujah evokes an incredibly fresh memory as the Iraq War and its effects on both veterans and Iraqis are acutely felt today. The game follows the USMC's 3rd Battalion 1st Marines as they engage insurgents in the Second Battle of Fallujah. Developer Highwire Games went to great lengths to ensure accuracy, conducting interviews with Marines and painstakingly recreating the aesthetic of the war-torn city. True to the conflict, players will encounter unconventional traps set by insurgents and must move quickly between cover while providing suppressing fire. When 6 Days in Fallujah was released, it was met with backlash from Iraqis, veterans associations, and families of service members for glorifying the battle. In response to these criticisms, the developer has since added interviews with soldiers and Iraqi civilians, which have helped to balance perspectives and provide context.
Many people often ask which one they should play, Squad or Arma, as their first milsim. But it depends on the experience they are looking for. While Arma provides expansive maps and customization, Squad delivers a more focused and contained experience, with a few mechanics that modernize the genre. The game started as a spiritual successor to Battlefield 2, and the influence of EA's 2005 online juggernaut is acutely felt. What belies the Squad experience is teamwork and, most importantly, communication. It makes it clear that, unlike modern Battlefield games, players can't survive alone. Players will participate in battles featuring up to 50 players, divided into 9 squads. The appointed squad leader can communicate with their ranking colleagues to coordinate combined offensives or pursue strategic objectives. One squad leader can also be nominated as commander, where they direct all squads and gain access to UAVs and artillery. The game looks great, with its environments and buildings being far more detailed than those seen in Arma Reforger.